Black 4206, parent kitchen 4206.
The difference between life and death is often measured in seconds.
Communications can be the key to survival.
I can't afford a busy signal or a message saying no service available when I'm fighting the clock to save a life.
Hi, I'm Chief Jeff Johnson, President of the International Association of Fire Chiefs. As emergency responders, you know just how crucial communications are at the scene of an emergency. Unfortunately, the Federal Communication Commission's recent broadband plan steals our very communications future with an idea to auction critical spectrum to the highest bidder. If we don't stop this plan now, we're jeopardizing communications for generations to come.
Fairfax County.
Communications technology can be quite complicated to explain, but this issue is very simple. If a firefighter arrives at the scene of a burning building and there's not enough water in the hoses to fight the fire, the results can be disastrous. The same can be said if there's not enough radio spectrum to communicate on under our control without interference.
We will be in an awful situation if the FCC plan to sell to the private sector part of what is known as the D block of the radio spectrum isn't stopped.
I need to be able to send and receive real-time imagery to hospitals as I treat my patients.
Anybody in here? When we need expert advice, rescuing someone who's trapped in the rubble of a building, we need to be able to send high-quality live video wirelessly.
The command post needs to see what I see, so we can effectively fight a major fire, hazmat incident, or any other large-scale emergency.
This is not some abstract vision of the future. I'm Jim Clack, the fire chief in Baltimore. 3 years ago, when the I-35W bridge collapsed, I was the fire chief in Minneapolis. 3 cameras were set up at the collapse zone to wirelessly transmit images back to the command post. This made a big difference in our ability to deploy firefighters and paramedics to the scene. In order for this to be a daily tool in the arsenal of our nation's firefighters, requires dedicated bandwidth that is under our control.
If our end of the radio spectrum is overloaded, the FCC expects us to borrow what we need from private industry.
It is unrealistic to expect the private sector to give emergencies the same priorities we do. They measure success by the bottom line. We do it in lives and property saved.
We need a system that blankets our response area, which is the entire country. This includes areas often not economically viable for commercial providers.
We need a network that's fortified against Mother Nature and acts of terrorism.
We need you to take action now. Contact your representatives in Washington and tell them how important this issue is in the protection of life and property across this nation.
This isn't just the nation's fire service seeing flaws in the FCC's plan to auction bandwidth.
Engine and medic 418.
911 professionals across the country and our brothers and sisters in EMS and law enforcement are joining in this battle.
We've come to the Capitol today to ask Congress to please support us in allocating the D block to public safety.
Let's get this spectrum to where it can be put to the best use, and that is the security and safety of all of our citizens.
America's armed services enjoy dedicated radio spectrum because that's what it takes to get the job done. Likewise, inside our nation's borders, our domestic defenders deserve the same resource.
I'm Jim Schwartz, Chief of the Arlington County Fire Department. I was the incident commander at the Pentagon when our nation came under attack almost 10 years ago. To be ready for the next terrorist incident, we as first responders must have new technologies that employ real-time video, GIS, and other data. We won't be able to do that unless Congress requires the FCC to allocate all of the D block radio channels for public safety. Let your congressmen and senators know we have one chance to get this right. Doing it wrong now will impair public safety communications for decades to come, and possibly forever.
First ranger accident back there, 3412, engine and ALS 834, respond channel 2. 3801, ambulance emergency. Was that your supporting? Stream medic 2, company 32, 5330.